Hey everybody, this is Dustin, your RV specialist. So today I'm looking at a 2025 Brinkley. It's brand new. Owners are getting ready to move into it full time. And so some of the stuff that, that I'm concerned with, it's not, this is just a me thing. So this is just a Dustin, hey, what would you do if it was yours? What's your prior experience? I've been in this industry for 25 years. I do everything from general maintenance to major repairs to lawsuits and all kinds of fun stuff. So we take on all the extended warranties, all the insurance companies and so on. So in the past, I've made some videos on some of the Brinkleys and that have been coming in here. And there's a couple in here right now. There's another travel trailer over there and this fifth wheel. So we haven't got to see one of these fifth wheels so far. So we're just getting ready to start checking it all out. I like the new pin box. There is some issues that I talk about that I'll do in another video, where it just seems to, like when you move it with a forklift, it just has so much bounce to the point where it would almost bottom out on the shock and on the spring. So it's just who knows if it'll ever do that on the back of the truck, based off of what kind of hitch they have. But stuff I'm looking at on these when I'm going around, I'm still going back to my whole voids and gaps. There's no sealant on anything, which they say, hey, they have the automotive package, but this thing is so wide up here. Again, I could put a 50-cent piece or more, and I know how these are constructed, so I know that this is a fiberglass cap that's resting over the top of the wall, and then there's a little screw cover aluminum bracket that's in here. And so when I see this big of a gap here, that gap's huge. It's going to take on water and get back behind here, and it's going to 100%. I'm not talking about the sealants. If maybe they're sealed back there or not, I won't know. We'll find out in 2 or 3 years from now. But the gap is so huge, there's no way that water's not going to travel back through here and rust up all those screws, unless they're stainless steel screws back there, and I know that they're not, right? So some stuff is not as tight enough as it could be. Again, there's nothing sealed on the clearance lights, so it may be again on the back of it, but I still don't want to risk it. Again, all these gaps, they're so huge, right? There's no way that water can't get in and can't get out. And again, if you look at this angle, that is such a huge gap, and that goes all the way up to the top. So we were just putting on slide out toppers on this one, and as the guys are looking at it, they're like, hey boss, they got putty that's bled out here, 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 and this stuff is really sticky and gooey. This is going to eventually get on the wiper sill, which you can already tell that it is. So you can see the 2 little marks. That's from where it's riding right on here and getting on here. So, and then it'll start dragging and can over time cause scratches on here and so on. Some of the other stuff that we notice, same kind of concept, is there's huge gaps underneath here where the rest of this is tight. So we go from a tight to a loose, 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 right? And so that's not all the way up there. And I don't know if it's because this molding is partially, and you can see where it ends right here. This molding is making contact with this molding. So if it was cut down just a hair more, that whole gap would be gone. But that's a big, huge gap. And I'm sure that even though they put the stuff on there to seal it up, I'm pretty sure water's gonna get in there over time. This is open here, so hopefully any water that does get in there comes out. But as we follow it down, again, we go no gap to a bigger gap, no gap, to a much bigger gap, and then, hey, where's my screw at, right? You forgot to put a screw here. And then see that discoloration around that screw, right? Well, I'm not a rocket scientist, but that looks like that's rust, and that looks like that's rust. And so water's, coming out and dripping and getting on those. But again, you have no screw here. And again, you can look how big that gap is to where there's no gap and there's a huge gap, right? The other thing is on the sides. So this is different than the other one. The other side we were just looking at. So you can see all those that are bled out, that again is gonna get on this wiper sill. So just things to check out. I'm gonna keep doing a few more videos on this, but I can already see where these moldings are moving around and it's pushing putty out from the backside of this. And as you can see, all of this gray putty back behind here, I would trim all that off. I would go back and lightly tighten up all these screws. As we continue on down, again, same thing. My worry is that they've glued these doors in place, and they say that, that's going to protect it. And that's great, and again, I'm not knocking anybody. Being innovative is fantastic, trying to do something new so that people don't have to maintain sealants. But my issue is that when I spoke with the manufacturer, I said, hey, if I ever have to take one of these doors off, and look, there's more like a rusted color right there. If I ever have to take one of these doors off and they're glued in place to take the J metal out or to get to the S lock, he said, Dustin, if you pull that door off, you're going to destroy that door because it's glued in place. So keep that in mind, folks. If you ever have to take a door off, you're going to destroy it. If you ever have to take what we refer to as S lock, which is a material that's behind this wall, that's glued in place 2 different ways, and it's also glued on the back of the sheet and glued underneath. Well, if you go to take that off for, say you ding it here, you ding it down there, you have a tire blowout, you're going to destroy anything that has to come off. So that's not a positive for me unless we're going to get support from the manufacturer for when we turn it into the insurance to say, hey, I got to replace this metal that's damaged, but I'm going to destroy this door, I'm going to destroy that door, and so on. Hey, I'm going to destroy the lights if I take them off because they're glued in place, not normal screwed and staples like we normally see that's been in the industry forever. The other thing too is this same kind of process. I've seen this in the past, and again, I'm not knocking on anybody. It's a clean surface, but my fear is as time progresses, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, whatever, right? That all this stuff is going to be flexing and moving and hot and cold and expansion and contraction, and then it's going to leak. So my advice to you is if you own a Brinkley or a Tiffin that's doing the same thing, or a Winnebago that's doing the same thing, or some of the other newer units that are following this same trend, is silicone on these gaps, on these wide open gaps. That's every single wear on this coach that I'm pointing out to you, from underneath the slides to the whole entire body. My advice is put some silicone on it. My description for you on this is I want you to think of it as it's like a police officer, right? And if you're a police officer and you're watching this, hey, there's those guys that don't want to wear a bulletproof jacket, and then there's those guys that want to wear a bulletproof jacket, right? So if there is some silicone here, that's going to act as like a water deflection. It's not going to prevent water from getting past it if there's an issue. But I want it to have sealant so that when water hits it from washing it, that it's not just setting in there with the soaps and the waters and whatever other chemicals, waxes that could actually react to that glue and cause it to come loose or dry out or shrink or whatever. Dust and dirt get back there, that's going to pull any oils out of it and cause it to shrink, dry, and crack as well. So by having a silicone on here, and I'm not talking your residential Home Depot or Lowe's, I'm talking about an RV grade specific silicones, different brands. You will now have something that's going to deflect the water almost like an umbrella. So, okay, I know I'm going kind of overboard and long on this one, but I think you guys should know. Same thing on the Z-Lock sealant. Same thing here. You got putty that's bled out. Now keep in mind, this owner, this is brand new. They haven't really used it, and they're getting ready to move into it full time. You got more putties that are bled out. So if these putties are bleeding out this bad on something that's brand new, what's it going to look like in a year from now, right? So if you already have a Brinkley and you have pictures of this stuff that's bled out, please share it with us. Let us know if that's what you're seeing as well. Another issue is they didn't put a screw here at the end of this molding, and they didn't put a screw at the end of that molding. They're pre-cut every 6 inches, and so when they whacked it off, they didn't put a screw. But now watch. We're going to walk over the other side, and we're going to see that they did put a screw right here on the end of this one. So see how they added a screw? Again, these are pre-cut every 6 inches, pre-drilled. So they cut and put a screw here, but if we follow it up, see our putty, there's no screw up there. See that? So I don't know why they didn't add screws to the end of these moldings on the 3 other ends of that slide out. Whoever did that one, they added them. But then again, they also missed one from the bottom. But again, the same thing. You got stuff that's bled out that's going to get on the wiper seals, going to damage the wiper seals, going to scratch the sidewalls. It's going to collect on there. So Make sure that you're sealing them up. You're checking all your screws and hardware. There's a bunch of stuff that Brinkley does really great. So it's not, this video again is not to be, I'm not poo-pooing them at all. We're actually just starting to do warranty work for them. And, you know, stuff like this, you know, typically you'll see these are screwed in place. So Brinkley's gone back and used tri-fold rivets. I've done articles and pictures on those. That's a tri-fold rivet. See how it spins, flares out. Oops, my hand's too big there. Flares out like that 3 ways. That's what we want to start seeing in our industry. So how they even, you know, did a rivet down here in the bottom of that bracket. So making sure that they have tri-fold rivets. The other thing I noticed that they did, which is kind of nice, is they use the witness mark right there. So where the slide out, where they know to put it right back at for it to be marked. But I would still go back down here and mark everything else so you know right where it's at. Everything underneath looks pretty clean, which is nice. You know, I don't see any screws or anything. I see some, you know, disruption in that molding across the, you know, for the wiper on the cross of that, but it's, you know, again, it's brand new and is eventually going to need to be conditioned. But it also could be rubbing up on different areas on the slide out too. So, all right, well, stay tuned for more. I'm going to do some videos on the roof and some other areas. I do like how they riveted all the fender skirts in place. I like how they riveted all the J-wrap skirting in place. You know, but again, I'm just going to go back and nag on you about the sealants. You know, I would really like to see them on there. But my fear is if I was a business partner with them or even a selling dealer, and I know that, you know, Nate will probably watch this video, you know, it's like, hey, bud, I'm here to help protect you too. So whether it's a customer coming in with a bad concern and, you know, if they broke it or they damaged themselves or whatever, but, you know, prior to our other videos going out, the warranty on these was only 90 days for water leaks. And so then they went and changed it because of the, I guess, the guarantee of the company that's backing them to say, hey, it's going to have a 3-year no leak on roof and body. I don't know. I think that's crazy myself, because if you know, things are going to come loose on your coach when you travel. Things are going to vibrate. Things are going to flex. You're going to go in and out of a driveway hard. You're going to crank it and turn it too hard. You're going to move all around, and you, the customer, are going to cause something to open up and spread open, and or, you know, if it's missing screws. So when it does that, you know, it's like, hey, sorry, that's not under warranty. It popped loose. Why aren't you checking your coach, right? There's too many things to check on these units. You know, it doesn't matter what brand or what kind of unit it is. There's too many things to check on it. So when you're taking it in for like a wool bearing pack, like a Les Schwab or some other company, they're not, you know, they're going to go to one thing and one thing only. They're not going to look over the whole unit for you and say, hey, here's what we found. Go take it to your RV shop and get this fixed. So anyways, stay tuned for more, and I will come back with some more videos on this Brinkley. Thanks again for watching.